Hi everyone, this is Perfume Coast, so welcome to my channel. I continue talking about powdery profile in fragrances, and today specifically I'll be talking about green powdery profile. And greenness to me, in combination with powderiness, provides this balance. Either greenness is balances off the harsh powderiness of the fragrance, or the other way around. Greenness in itself can be quite harsh as well, so powdery note can also tone down this green aroma. So every fragrance from today's review contains a specific green note, rooting all of these fragrances in the green direction, but each of them has their own profile, I'd say. So without further ado, let's jump into the ocean of perfumes. And the first perfume I'd like to introduce to you, which you probably are familiar by now quite well, is called Chanel 19 Poudre by the house Chanel. And as always, let's take a quick look at the notes that Fragrantica is listing here. So on the top there's galbanum, neroli, mandarin orange. In the middle there's iris, jasmine. And finally in the base there's vetiver, musk and tonka bean. So this fragrance starts off right away with distinctly green opening, mainly, introduced by galbanum. But this green is extremely powdery, like a bunch of green twigs smothered in a box of powder. I'd say that powder is the main theme here, but greenery, again, softens the strong powdery texture. And it almost feels like, if not for large dose of greenery, this perfume would have been entirely taken closer to Chanel No. 5 DNA. So the scent is quite dry and its closure is extremely vetivery as well. And it's this green galbanum note that bridges powdery opening and vetiver epilogue. So overall impression is powdery green from start to finish, going through different notes facets as it goes, but never losing its key theme. So this fragrance gives off this touch vintagey vibe, I'd say, that gives off extra elegance, but never suffocates you, as the case may be with the similar profiles. So next up, we've got another brilliant release, also quite a dry perfume. It's called Fleur de Peau by the house Diptique. And as usual, let's just take a glimpse into which notes are listed here. So on the top we have aldehydes, pink pepper, angelica and bergamot. In the middle there's iris, Turkish rose. And in the base there's musk, ambrette, carrot, ambergris, sandalwood, leather and amberwood. So this green powder fragrance is done in a lot more modern way, I would say. So green DNA is here achieved through using angelica note that gives off this beautiful, perfect, a bit vegetable feel, but never goes into this entirely vegetable direction. So it opens up with this sparkly accord due to combination of aldehydes and pink pepper. And powderiness here is not the likes of your cosmetic compact, baby powder or any other powder-based product, but it's rather the residuals of powdery texture freshened up with angelica and bergamot. So as the scent goes, vegetal accord becomes the leading element, whereas floral rosy vibe joins as well, and a bit of powderiness lingers on the background. So sparkliness never really goes away, fortunately, and citrusousness also gets stronger, which is a bit unusual, as citrus notes are traditionally on the top, and they're quite ethereal notes, which normally quickly go away. So it's a very unique, non-sweet but very popular scent, which is still very much part of fragrance community, even though it was released in 2018, so 7 years from now, which by the present standards of ongoing flankers and releases is quite a consistency. So next up is another gorgeous release, I think largely underestimated. It's called Artemisia by the house Penhaligon. This is a British house. So as far as the notes are concerned, we've got the following. So on the top there's nectarine and green notes. In the middle there's violet, vanilla, lily of the valley, tea, jasmine, green apple. And finally in the base there's musk, sandalwood, oak moss and amber. So the note responsible for greenness here is not Artemisia, incidentally. According to Fragrantica, it's green notes collection that represents the greenness here. So this fragrance opens up very politely but still quite powdery. And this open is extremely airy and fluffy, the likes of ballerina skirt, as many compare this perfume texture to. And as oftentimes happens, this airiness is probably achieved by violet note, whereas iris equivalent would probably have made this scent a lot rougher and heavier. Well, anyway, that's my explanation for this. So, to my nose, this scent is not sweet either, which suggests that I cannot necessarily detect any nectarine listed. But what I can detect, though, is lots of well-behaved powderiness amplified by the notes of tea, giving off a bit of tanginess, and some floral notes as well, such as lily of the valley, supporting the fragrance freshness. So, the scent is again very unique, non-sweet, fluffy, powdery, fresh and tangy. Whilst being called Artemisia, the fragrance contains 0 Artemisia notes expressly listed. And whilst I cannot really remember any experience of smelling Artemisia in nature, I can definitely associate the perfume's texture with pollen of some plant or flower. Well, hopefully without allergic reactions. And that's the advantage that perfumery is giving us very often, enjoying specific profiles without actual materials sourced from this profile in nature. And finally, to wrap this video up, is another brilliant release, which is called Call Me Iris, by the Belgian house Soeurs. So, and as with previous fragrances, let's take a look at what the notes are here. So on the top there's lemon, bergamot and pink pepper. In the middle there's orris and olibanum. And finally in the base there's balsam fir and vanilla. So as far as this fragrance is concerned, here the green note we have is fir, as in conifer fir. So the opening is very citrusy, as different from the 3 previously mentioned. It's somewhat sweet as well. This scent is definitely powdery, but powderiness here is equal player with sweetened citrus, which again is achieved by using orris, which is iris root, instead of using specifically iris. And iris, of course, is a lot stronger powdery note. So the opening reminds the citrusy sweetened drink with a bit of sugar dusting, perhaps. But as the scent progresses, it goes into even more gourmand territory, giving off this lemon icing on the cake vibe. So I cannot necessarily detect any conifer fir, which again may suggest that fir note here just is called to help with balancing the sweetness that otherwise would have been more prominent. So again, we are observing the supporting role of a particular note rather than giving this note a role of its own. So my final remark, as far as all these fragrances are concerned, is that all of the listed fragrances are totally unisex and also office-friendly, which is sort of feature of many powdery-forward scents. So that's it, guys. This has been the last perfume for today's video. So if you've liked this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please comment. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye-bye.